My name is Shannon Pakulis, and I'm the social media manager for the Ravens. And today I am speaking with rugby league player Megean Gosselin, who has made this transition into a plant-based diet, and that's kind of what we're going to be discussing today. So, Megean, why don't you introduce yourself and where you're at right now with your rugby career?
Yeah, so my name is Megean Gosselin, like you said. Everyone around me calls me Megs. I've been in rugby league for about 4 years now, and I'm currently, as you guys can see, I'm not in Canada. It's not cold. I'm currently in Sydney, Australia, and I'm currently playing with the North Sydney Bears in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership comp, which is just below the WNRL. So yeah, so it's a good year for rugby and myself. So very happy.
Well, Megean, you're making all of us jealous here. We miss the warmth, but
I do not miss the cold. So you guys can keep the snow, keep it that way on that side of the earth. I'm good.
Thanks. So what I find very interesting is recently a lot of athletes have made this transition into a plant-based or vegan diet, such as Nate Diaz, who is an MMA fighter, and Morgan Mitchell, who is an Australian sprinter. And then we have this whole English football team, the Forest Green Rovers, who have totally gone vegan, the whole team. And I'm really interested by all these athletes who are going vegan or plant-based, and you're one of them. So how did you kind of start this transition and why?
Yeah, actually, all credits go to my partner, Sean. He is Jamaican, and a big part of Jamaican culture is very heavy meats, very fatty meats, very high cholesterol meats. And Sean plays soccer professionally, and he's noticed his transition through 25 to 30. Those past few years have been really hard on him recovery wise when he does get injured, or he's noticed that he is injury prone. And so getting to Australia last year with everything that happened, we did have some downtime to kind of evaluate what we were doing sports wise, how we were training, how we were eating. And we spent a lot of time talking with the national team doctors on both of our ends, as well as a lot of dietitians, friends. Sean's sister's in med school right now. So just talking to different people and getting kind of their opinion on like diet and like also sleep pattern and how that affects us as athletes. I've also started working for a company that provides or that offers altitude training to the general public, and doing research on that and how it's helped athletes, but also how the diet and their lifestyle has changed due to that was a big factor in essentially deciding to go plant-based, and the reasons why we essentially, or we looked into doing it essentially.
Yeah. Have you noticed any changes mentally or physically since doing it?
Yeah. So on my perspective, I've always been, everyone who knows me, very high energy. So there hasn't been a really big change in my energy levels, whereas Sean used to get very lethargic, and he just like, he doesn't have to have his midday nap, essentially, is the best way to put it anymore. However, with me, my sleep pattern was good in the sense that I would always get like a decent amount of sleep, but my body was never in a place where I could get 8 hours of sleep at the same time every day. Like my body would always push itself to the limit, or I would always push it. And now my body kind of regulates itself and saying like, it's now time, like you need to shut down. And I actually have been able to listen to my body even like a lot more just because of that. Mentally, like just a lot more alert on that end, just making decisions a little clearer. But physically, I recently got injured. I had a hamstring tendonitis in my right leg. and the recovery process of what a previous strain would have been compared to like a knee strain or calf strain that I've already had in the past, the recovery process was so much quicker. And granted, some people could say it was just because I had more time to stretch, more time to do X, Y, and Z. But honestly, like, I do think that it was really the fact that I wasn't eating meat anymore and I wasn't eating or as much because as you guys may have seen on my social, I do sometimes indulge on weekends if we're going out or with friends or whatnot. But I have seen that, like, rehabilitation wise, like that difference in my body just feels cleaner. I've also lost 6 kilos. I didn't think I had anything to lose. Obviously, as athletes, we always think, well, we can just put on muscle, but I've actually lost as well as put on muscle. So it was kind of cool to see that the fat stores are now working differently or being absorbed differently in my body. Like, having been plant-based has been pretty good, honestly, so far.
What has been the hardest part for you?
I guess for me would be probably the cooking, just because I am the one that cooks in our household, and I grew up in a very French household, so big on cheese, big on meats, big on like raw meats. And so a lot of my cooking knowledge comes from being able to pair those flavors with obviously side dishes of vegetable and grain, but having to go completely without that flavor and actually create meals that were as flavorful without the meat component was probably the hardest part in the first few months. Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who wants to make this transition, especially for athletes who want to make this transition?
Don't do it alone. Make sure that you are seeing a doctor, that you understand your blood as well as your just how your body functions. So a big part of going plant-based or vegan is a lot of things that you do get in your meat diet. A lot of people think that there's a lot that you get in your meat diet that you don't get, but that you won't get. But however, it's usually the dairy, it's usually the lean meats that are usually the causing factor. So things like low iron is a big one. Suggestion: don't do it alone, and make sure you have time to do your research.
Mm-hmm. Going back to what you were saying about iron levels, I have an interesting story, actually. I think it was 2017, I was fully vegan at the time, and I went to donate blood. And of course, I was worried about my iron levels. But when the nurse checked my iron levels, she was so surprised because she said, "You have really high iron levels. You must eat a lot of red meat." And I told her, "No, I don't actually. I'm totally vegan right now." And she was so surprised, she couldn't believe it. But it is all about what you eat and being careful with what you're eating and just doing your research and I guess knowing what you're putting into your body.
Yeah, and especially as athletes, like, there's a lot of protein substitutes where you'll have like protein shakes X, like aminos XYZ, and you have to kind of like let the noise die around you, and you have to focus really on what you need.
Well, thank you so much, Megan. I appreciate speaking to you today about this.
Yeah.
And good luck with everything in Australia.
Thank you very much. I hope to see most of you or all of you back home at some point.
I don't know. Maybe we'll come there.
Yeah, I mean, just make sure you guys don't bring anything with you.
No, no.
I'll
try
we're
not
safe
to.
here.
I just want the sun.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming out slowly, which will be a good afternoon. Training in the sun, that'll be hectic, but we always enjoy a good challenge. So
yeah, we'll enjoy it.